I really want to give credit to the way that FURIA very clearly in every single game do not relent. They will not give up. They will keep looking. They will keep fighting. And they're on red side this time around.
Okay, FURIA opting for the red side of the draft. We are pretty deep into Fearless at this point. This is when Fearless truly gets fun, I think, the Game 4s, the Game 5s. However, one thing has not changed the entire series long, and that is G2 banning Misfortune.
Yeah, I do remember at the beginning of the year when you guys just kept getting free zeros.
Oh, you say
we kept getting dragged to 5 games. We had like 4 or 5 gamers in a row.
We didn't get a Game 4 until like May or June.
Yeah,
it was a while.
Well, then you finally got to experience Fearless. That's fine.
I know, but I was so jealous of you guys for so long because I just wanted the Game 4s, the Game 5s.
But you know what?
What's that?
I could see a 5th game, especially given how the 3rd game played out. I don't think it's beyond the realm of expectation, as there is the Mundo ban. Even though it didn't end up working in the final game that G2 played it in, it is still a pick that obviously has been gaining some notorious clips that I'm sure everyone has seen.
Oh, yes.
Mundo 2-tapping people, as we do see a Neferi come through still, despite all the nerfs. You can reset turret aggro. That's really the main thing.
Any type of invulnerability window is so much more powerful than it might first appear when you read the tooltip. Yep. So that's locked in. That'll be there for Skewmon or potentially for Broken Blade here on the side of G2. Looking at our bans, it is that Misfortune banned away from IU, like I already mentioned, alongside Gwen and Senna. And then over on the FURIA side, they will continue banning Twisted Fate alongside Azir and the Mundo that you already brought up. FURIA, their first pick of the draft will be the Ashe here for IU.
Ashe to come through. I'd be looking towards something like an Ashe and Braum. That is a combo we've seen a lot. Does have a ton of power. Now, an early Nocturne to come through here. Obviously, most likely know the matchup can be playing into the Neferi. I do think the Nocturne is a pick that is somewhat reliant. I'm actually not the biggest fan of the Nocturne Orianna combo. I feel like very often it is kind of bait. So I'm not too bothered. What I do think is unfortunate is that a champion like the Annie is taken away. And if you don't lock it early on, I think the Aurora is also definitely going to get banned. Really, any champion that relies on finding a way into the enemy backline is going to be bolstered to such an insane degree.
Right.
Nico is another. I think Nico Nocturne, particularly if you want to get really crazy with it, you can flex the Nico. I do think that this is going to go towards the support, especially because with an Ashe, picking up a Renata would always feel great.
Yeah, we've got that Nico locked in for the side of G2. Very powerful engage or counter-engage champion. Also one of the most ultimate reliant champions in League of Legends. Nico without ult versus Nico with ult just feels like an entirely different presence. And okay, Kalista picked up for G2 to deal with the Ashe. Ashe, traditionally, though, I feel like is one of those characters just being able to slow Kalista down so easily is pretty effective against it.
Yeah, it is. Since the changes, it's not quite as much of a quote-unquote hard counter. I still think Ashe is fine into it. But really, my question is, what is the support answer going to be? Because that is something that I think is a lot harder. That is a classic. It's the Seraphine to come through. And the team of G2 thus far, it's only short range, right? You're looking at a team that is forced to come into you. So Seraphine and Ashe. Seraphine, with any slow on her E, will get a root. If you get a root already, you can even go for the stun. And the ultimate value that you can get is insane into the amount of short-range characters that are there. And I think it's even further bolstered by the fact that normally Seraphine's ult does take some time, right? It's like Renata, the wind-up is relatively slow.
Yeah, she has to do the noise and then the pick.
Well, you see the animation. There's a Nocturne in the game. So
you've got all the time in the world.
It gets a lot harder to reliably get out of dodge.
Okay, let's see what we get in the second half here for the bans.
There it is.
There's the Aurora that you were talking about, something that requires that setup. G2 are thinking the same thing. They don't want to deal with that. The Galio, banned out by the side of FURIA. This is one of those champions I feel like if you're Nocturne, you're diving into a valuable target. The last thing you want to see is the giant hero's entrance emblem light up below them and immediately stop that engage potential. So that's their first ban. I wonder if they're going to continue to target those counter-engage types. Cassiopeia, another champion that is excellent against short-range opponents.
Are they looking towards like an R4 Scion here? It's kind of what I'm wondering about, because there is, and I think it's unlikely, because I think Kalista and Nico is such a strong duo, because you can also throw the Nico into the enemy team, right? And Nico has a lot more playmaking space because of the Fate's Call. But there is still the potential for it to be flexed. We haven't just seen it recently, but there used to be a time where you could legitimately also play it mid and jungle. As the Silas also gets taken away. No, that's not what we'll be seeing.
No.
We're just going to play Akali.
All right, we've got the Akali locked in here. This is a pick that, if I'm remembering the playoffs correctly from LTA South, this did not work in their initial game, their initial series, excuse me, against Pain, where FURIA initially got knocked down to the lower bracket, but then they're confident enough to slam it again in the final, and it does work. So
there it is. Yeah, there's the flex.
Okay, we've got it.
It is and it could also be possible that the reason why they went for this Akali is because they made the read that it definitely go in mid. Yeah. So the Blitz comes out, and obviously playing a hook champion like Blitz into something like Seraphine, you're always going to feel amazing. She doesn't really have a way to get out of range, so your hook is way more lethal than it would otherwise be. As the Renekton comes through, Gragas is one that you could go towards. I do think we're getting deeper into Fearless. Sign is fine, but I do think that this is one of the matchups where Renekton can both easily get out of the way, he shreds your armor, and he has a way to get through your shield with the Empower W. So definitely a matchup where I think you're a little more... If this was an Ornn, I think you're feeling great. Obviously, Ornn after last game, not available.
Right. Fearless taking that one out. Also, the thing that I'm looking for is the setup for Lebrov's pulls. Obviously, you know, if you're just got that God hand energy and you can find those pulls constantly, great. But a lot of times you also want to run it with something. We've seen G2 run it a lot before with the Maokai in particular. Fire off the ulti, pull whoever gets grabbed as long as it's not a super meatball tank, and then just try to burst the guy down, right? But this time around, we're going to need to look to see that setup from somewhere else, or just full faith in Lebrov to hit the pulls.
That is always the thing with Blitzcrank. You need to hit. Yeah, you're almost all of your champion power budget is tied into these hooks, and any bot laner is a good catch. If you get Ashe, if you get Seraphine, you're going to be very happy. Great. Obviously, Akali realistically shouldn't get hooked. Nocturne has a spell shield, and then if Sion gets hooked,
whatever.
It's Sion. It's probably not good for you.
You really want to target those two bot laners, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are FURIA, since they are the squad that needs to win here to stay alive in this series, what is the game plan?
For certainly, try and make sure that early on nothing happens, right? You want Nocturne to get to 6. With the Wukong, I saw some pre-6. Don't do it.
Okay.
No pre-6.
Resist the urge.
No pre-6 Nocturne gangs. Everyone just play a stable lane. I don't think there's that much kill threat on the enemy team pre-6, so just play it slow. Keep it cool.
All right, well, right now we can see everybody grouped up together. When there's Blitzcrank in the game, the chance of level 1 shenanigans spikes very high. And FURIA does not want to partake in such activity. So instead, it's going to be the 5-man invade here into the bottom side Triburst, but they're walking over a ward. G2 knows that FURIA is here. They're going to drop a ward there, and when FURIA doesn't come up that way, okay, now they'll walk through. G2 knows where they're at, but it doesn't look like they want anything to do with it. G2's happy to just be like, no level 1s. Play it standard, play it safe. And FURIA, they'll get the vision down there with the red buff, but that's it. And I think if you're G2, it's pretty obvious there's a ward here since you placed that ward down on the back end of the red buff, and then it took an extra second or two for all of FURIA to show up. You know they stepped off into that side brush, likely to drop the ward, and so they'll sweep that one away for free on the G2 side.
Now what that does mean, it allows Jojo and IU to gain control of this brush level 1, and additionally, there is no way for Lebrov to clear a ward, right? So if they get vision here, it's quite obvious. There is the hook. Yeah. But I don't think you win that trade. That's the problem. Like, just the hook is not enough, and that's the level 1 that you're looking for.
Yeah, the 2 range champions versus a guy who is a hook and that's it. Sure, you can hit the hook. Here's our shields. Here's our extra damage. Here's Seraphine's high notes. Here's all of the damage from the Ashe. And that's immediately a level 1 recall from Hans Sama. This is not an Ezreal or an AD carry that runs a teleport. Hans is just going to have to walk it all the way back to the bottom lane now as IU and Jojo push the wave.
And Hans, for me, has been the standout of the day. I think he's been very solid in every game. I mean, it's definitely the bot lane's fault, but in this case, right, what can he do? Once the hook comes through, you do have to commit. I think the call there should have just been let them hold off. Unless you have support, I just don't think you win that. Even if you do hit the hook, as we saw, shielding comes through, and the early Ashe damage with that lethal tempo is just a really big deal. And it's not going to be enough to just get this lead, right? I think we do need to see Jojo and I keep playing out this lane cleanly, because the big thing is, like, yes, you get control of the lane, but Tatu, is he fine? I think he's fine.
Yeah,
he's fine.
I think he's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
But he is not just only farming pre-6. Broken Blade with the control, with the shove up here in the top lane. Tatu just wants to scrap. PvP at level 3 for this Nocturne. Broken Blade jumping back in after Gigo here. Gigo gets his shield immediately popped by the Ruthless Predator.
There are some things transpiring here that I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Broken Blade took like at least a turret shot for the lane to get to this state. And then if there is a champion where just full clearing is very acceptable, I do think it's Nocturne.
Yeah,
like,
I would agree.
So, even more so than with the Wukong, I'd argue you're so gated. Although I guess if you do find, you know, there are some matchups where, as a Nocturne, you're actually a really strong duelist because of your fear, as well as the extra AD you get when you stand on your Q.
Yeah.
But it's Neferi, you're not going to be able to.
Ooh, nice pull there from Labrov. But the counterattack, it's still Furia's duo who comes out on top in terms of the status of the health bars. I feel like unless Labrov is hitting one of these pulls, dragging somebody underneath the turret where they can't fire back on Furia's side, Furia is just outgunning them after the fact. Tatu stepping up here. Skewmon wanting to steal away some chickens. He does go back in to get that, but the Fear Tether still finds its mark. As Tatu's ready to flash follow on the Shadow Path. Skewmon tries to get away. A little bit more damage will do it, but no! Caps with a nice double binding through the Tangle Barbs. This early game, Chronicler, is madness.
Yet no one has died.
Well, hold on now. Remember, the top lane has been the location of first blood in all 3 games thus far, and Broken Blade does not want that to be the case right now.
It's a fist fight.
Yeah,
it's just we're
it's a back alley brawl.
I'm wondering. We'll need to see in the replay, but I'm not quite sure. I thought if Toots goes for the flash Q there, definitely gets the kill, but maybe he didn't have the energy to go for the Q. Not quite sure. As yeah, we're just continuing this because why not? This is a Renekton without flash, but he is still a Renekton, so... Oh, that's a slice and that's used!
Yep, they wanted to get the E, and then you bring up the Nocturne. Now Gigo finds a little bit more damage with another Decimate, and for the 4th time in 4 games, First Blood is top lane. Furia on the board. Tatu, he might not be farming camps, my friend, but he's farming champs.
That's fine, he's level 4, who cares? Yeah, he's getting the kills, okay?
He's got it.
Getting summoners. And jokes aside, an early kill on Nocturne is obviously very valuable. One of the junglers that can really carry when given a lead. Well, now Ding over to 5 as well. And also has been pretty active in trying to steal a lot of camps away from his opponent. And it is Broken Blade attempting to really keep the pressure up, as you would do, as we do have Labrov on his way.
Ooh, miss. Nice connect there on the hook. Ayu gets grabbed, and the follow-up from G2 forces out a flash. Ayu staying alive for now, but it's a potential 4-man play from the side of G2. Caps with the flash in for the Blooming Blows to find the first kill, as Toots now in the middle of 4 has to use the ulti back over the wall. It's a scrap in bottom lane, but Caps gets it. As nice pull from Labrov. They're going to steal the Gromp away at the same time.
Blessing the curse there for Tatu. If you get hooked, you die, because he doesn't have flash, but you do lose your Gromp. It's painful. I imagine that Toots didn't have his W, because it felt like when he went in, if you can stall with W there and you can actually get a big R2 off, then maybe there's an opportunity. As here, sidestep doesn't fool Labrov. You get the setup, and if you flash the hook, you live. Instead, Ayu tries to outplay it, doesn't quite find it. Caps with the flash Q, and Shurdy goes down. And then here, in hindsight, I'm looking at this with Caps especially being as healthy as he is and no level 6 on Tatu. I think actually going out is the right call, because even if you trade, do you really want to trade your life for Labrov's? I'd say no.
No.
As top lane, Events are still transpiring.
Yeah, we've got ultis traded back and forth now with a fully charged Decimate. There's that last little bit of damage for the Nocturne. The Fear Tether is attached. He's wearing alligator boots. Tatu grabbing the second kill for FURIA.
And we knew the sign was coming. It's been on the ban list already. But despite that, Gigo having yet another great game, and it's Tatu reaping the benefits, now 2-0 on the Nocturne. He doesn't even have his ult. You know, I'm sorry, I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game. I thought that Nocturne needed ult to do stuff. I was clearly wrong.
Yeah, obviously.
My bad.
You have not studied all of the books of
the
Nocturne.
Nocturne.
You kind of lost out all of that extra momentum that you've built yourself before. So, now that he's level 6, let's see where that paranoia lands.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, you know, he has a Ultimate Hunter stat, but he doesn't have Domination, so he doesn't.
Right, yeah, it's... I wish I could remember the name. I always just call them the colors. Yellow, blue, light blue, green. Oh, immediately going in for the paranoia here after Caps. Finds the fear, but it's only... See, this is the kind of ulti that I was afraid of. This is the kind of one that you really don't want to see. Beautiful pull from LeBron into the Wombo combo with Hansama's ulti. JoJo's in a little bit of danger. He finally dies, but Toots is hopping in there to make it a 1-for-1 here so far. Now wants another. Hansama in danger. Toots grabbing a double kill. Caps about to die to Tatu off to the side at the same time. Skewbon won't get a kill. Holy cow, G2 just lost 4, and FURIA sent him straight to the Shadow Realm.
Oh, baby, what a fight! 1k gold lead now. Grub's about to come through. And, yeah, JoJo dies.
Yeah,
okay. Wait, did he even... he did die, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he did die.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You got 2 kills.
They killed support Seraphine. That's it. Okay, Caps teleporting deep to try to get one back onto Toots, who immediately goes inside the smoke. Shuriken Flip does not find a target there. Honestly, Chronicler, I know that he's at 400 HP, but I think if that Shuriken hits, there is a non-zero chance that he flips.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. He is sitting on a lot of gold. There is the Rocket Belt now.
Now he's sitting on a Rocket Belt, yeah.
The counterpunch from G2, it looks like is going to just be this dragon. Don't think they will really be in a position because Tatu does still need to get a base in, and also, again, they got the grubs. But an early Ocean Drake does mean that the Dragon's Soul will probably be high value. Opportunity here for G2 to not fit it. But this early skirmish, as they, again, find the Seraphine, go for the immediate combo, and like the CC is nice, but Ayu is there to slow down the play. And this is all you want as a Kali, unlike you have your Hextech Alternator, you have your ultimate available. And this fight position, given that Caps will just not be able to join, even if Tatu isn't waiting there. Like, he was already 40% HP because of the Nocturnal.
The comparison of the reactions, the frustration on the face of G2, the excitement on the faces of FURIA, and the fans. If you've never seen the cams of the Brazilian fans cheering on their teams, you're missing out, man. It's one of the most passionate fan bases in League of Legends, and they couldn't be happier seeing how FURIA is starting off the first 10 minutes of this game. They are up just shy of 1,000 gold, but G2 does have the first Drake for themselves. Grubs ended up getting split 2-1, so I do believe this is the first game we don't have a full 3-0 Grub take for either side, but FURIA will still get credit towards the Empowered Shoes for that. And this is also the first game where FURIA claims the feats of warfare, as now Scion ulti from Gigo to set it up for Tatu yet again. The call to Meek for the heal isn't enough, and Tatu's on a rampage. That is 3 kills on the Renekton for the Nocturne.
And maybe a dive imminent here, but there's no wave. JoJo needs to be careful so he doesn't get hooked as Lebrov.
Lebrov wants it. JoJo with a flash that time. And immediately hits him with the emote too.
And Tut's going to use this opportunity to ensure that there's not a follow-up dive here by clearing out the wave.
Yep.
As soon as he can. Finds the final minion as well. That is a nice summer now being gone. And G2 does still have the opportunity with Blitzcrank to kind of create these situations, not unlike the Poppy, even though we didn't actually end up seeing that play out, where you can always turn any game situation unfair. But I think it's very telling that FURIA is just doing so well in these early game skirmishes. And the big difference for me is that, look at this. This is still a good front to back comp. There is obviously the risk of Tatu and Tuts going way too deep. Rest of the team can't follow up. But if that doesn't happen,
nice route there. Forces the ulti out of Hans, so good save there on Lebrov. But as soon as that pull misses, that's the thing about Blitzcrank. If you fire the pull and you miss, you are zero threat whatsoever until that cooldown is back.
I think the funny part about this game is we've also seen the hook does hit, but it's actually not good.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's, with Blitzcrank, it is just one of those characters where it's so binary. Either it's a good hook and you hit it, or it's either a bad hook or you don't hit it, right? And then the play just fizzles. We saw it early in bot lane, and we also saw it there towards the top side. Yes, he finds the hook, but the price he has to pay, I think G2 is not going to be very happy about. As there is no arrow. Jojo does still have his ultimate available, but I think that Tatu wants to look for a base.
Ooh, Toots looking for the kill in the bottom lane, but the fight breaks out here in mid. Lebrov in some danger. Beautiful Seraphine ulti hits all three. And now Skumon and Hans got him. But Ayu is focus firing straight through him. Skumon getting away. Hans doing the same. Meanwhile, down here in the bottom lane, Broken Blade still under the pressure from Toots. Keep in mind, though, the Renekton with Dominus. Deceptively tanky. Toots does not want to force a dive onto that one. Tatu going to move into the enemy jungle. Check for the red buff. Go ahead and take his recall when he doesn't see it. That looked like that fight could have potentially had some possibility there for G2, but the Seraphine ulti was absolutely massive to turn things around. And now FURIA, just about time for the turret plates to fall, are up 2,500 gold.
That's a good opportunity. Go back to expectations. At the start of the day, expectations were that this would be a 3-0. There was, of course, the opportunity that FURIA would take a game, right? But even a lot of the fans of the CBLOL were like, if we take a game and we look good, that's a win. Instead, we are looking, yes, G2 on match point, but a 2k gold lead here now. And really every game, I'd say barring game 2, FURIA have just been very competitive. Game 1, they obviously won, but even game 3, that was a close game. It was a back and forth. And in this setup, I think as long as they are somewhat restrained, and I'm aware of what I'm saying, but when they pull the trigger on the Nocturne ult as well as the Akali, we are slowly getting to the point where it's going to become harder and harder to find a bad play, right? Because if Nocturne is 5-0 and Akali is 2-0, like people will just die so quickly. And there isn't really a traditional frontline on G2. Renekton is really as good as it gets. Or, you know, Skumon is W.
Yeah, you can aggro drop, so... Yeah, the problem is when you aggro drop, that means that the aggro goes somewhere else.
Well, I mean, that's a problem for whoever else is dealing with that.
Yeah, right.
Not for him.
The other person is now in the danger. The dog is fine.
Ooh, Skumon trying to sneak this one away.
FURIA.
Are they going to find him out?
They don't want to allow it to happen, though.
There you go.
Oh, Tatu's going to see the Drake. It's down low. Tatu, he flashes in to try to smite it away, but it looks like both smites got used, so it might have been a bit of an early activation there from Tatu. Diving in now with a paranoia. Wants to go after Hans. Sidesteps away from the potential pull of Lebrov.
Ooh, it's tempo ult.
Yeah, it's a tempo ult to make sure they're low HP and go after the Herald.
I mean, we do joke, but he still got a good amount of damage down.
Whoa.
I mean, you still take that. That's Dominus gone.
Yeah. Dominus out of the picture. BB still very low. Top 2 down to about half HP. This is your Fed Nocturne. It's a massive shutdown if they get it. Skumon and Caps going in. Tatu is very low. There's your Pop Blossom from Caps. And the shutdown over to Skumon. What is the trade? Toots forcing Hans back into the fight. But Broken Blade is ready to jump into the back lines. But G2 has already lost 3. It's a 3-for-2 trade. And FURIA comes out on top.
Yeah, Tatu dies, but Ayu's gliding on them. No one's threatening him on the Ashe.
Oh, here comes Gigo. He wants Hans Sama. He finds the collision and the decimate. The volley fade away. And Ayu picks up kill 12 for FURIA.
What a day of performances here from Gigo. Solo bolos, different styles of champions. It just doesn't matter. This man will not be held down. Huge individual gold lead as well. As we take another look, the attempt from G2 to punish this Nocturne, and a lot of cooldowns are used. I think going for this fight, understandable, but it's Lebrov not finding the hook, and then this being a little bit disjointed, right? Tatu stalls for so long. which means that by the time that they actually take him down, Tuts has joined the fight. And it's again, yeah, Jojo dies, but who cares? The rest of the team is clearly already trying to opt out of this. And it's G2 going too aggressive, clearly not all being on the same page, because half the team was backing off while the other team is going in. Maybe the call was, I'm not getting out, you know, I'm gonna try and look for something.
Yeah.
And the gold is not truly out of control just yet, but the kills are, that's gotta feel rough, right? Like the amount of gold that has been put into these mid-jungle duos, and not even to mine. The riddle thing, as we get deeper into this game, Tadu and Tuts are also going to create so much space for Ayu, because you need to deal with those two, which means that the Ashe is going to be autoing.
Refiring. Yeah, there's been so many of these fights where even if he doesn't have a lot of mana to start off with and all he is a right-click bot, he is getting the right click 20 times in a fight. Yeah, it works out great.
It's doing his job great.
Lebrov stepping up, looking for maybe the opportunity here for a pull, but I would advise against it. Tatu jumping in, immediately decides he wants to go after Caps. Pop Blossom's going to stop it, but only for a moment. Caps is down. Jojo gets revenge. Now a decimate from Gigo here on the front line keeps Lebrov and Hans Sama zoned away. 13 kills in 18 minutes for the Brazilian team.
The gold lead keeps growing. Mid lane turret is going to fall. Herald soon as well. And with how this game has been playing out thus far, are we really gonna? It's gonna happen? Are we gonna start off with a silver scrapes on Series 1?
That could be absolutely insane, but we still have to see if FURIA can close this out. We had our doubts in game number 1, and they proved to us that they could do it. Now, here in game number 4, they're looking awesome. So far, as we're just about to hit 20 minutes in, the Rift Herald will be the target for Skumond. And honestly, I like the timing that G2 is doing this on. They're trying to force it down with the extra power of the Callista. Gigo and Tatu want to step up, want to try to stop it. Caps and Hans both here though. FURIA coming in to try to stop this effort from G2, but the Herald has already been claimed by Skumond. Now you got to look out. Beautiful pull coming out from Leblov to try to shut down Tuts. A nice shutdown lands. Big three-man Seraphine ulti, but where's the follow-up? Nobody on G2 is dead. Jojo's forced to flash back over the wall, and G2, they get the Herald, they get a kill, they almost get Tatu, but now Broken Blade is still leading the charge. FURIA continues to fight, the Decimate doesn't find the Renekton, and Lebrov gets saved by Hans. Gigo's still frontlining as the rest of FURIA runs away. Pop Blossom finds 2, a lot of damage on Ayu, but he ain't dead yet. 1 dead on G2, 2 dead on G2, 3 dead on G2. Hans Sama versus the world, and the world means Brazil. Hans trying to kite it out, but Gigo won't allow it. Ace for FURIA, Quadra for Gigo.
As Gigo gets 4.
What?
G2, they could have just left it at that, but no, they try to get more. The sums they got, because this attempt from FURIA, it's just a little bit too much. Jojo isn't quite in the position. They immediately get so much damage down onto the Sakali. Nice hook from Lebrov, gets him out. But that stalling out from Jojo, I think, actually ends up being big. And then you can just leave it at that, right? You got a bunch of cooldowns. Yes, you won't get Tatu, but it's not the end of the world. But instead, they keep going into this choke point. And Seraphine is one of those champions where if you get more rotations off, you end up sustaining so much. These small choke points are huge, as Gigo hasn't died yet, but maybe using his passive this time around.
That is a 1,000 gold shutdown. They have to give this to the right player. Skumond will be the one to take it. Big shutdown for G2. That was a very fed Scion. That is a top lane that has Otacon that spawned only 1 minute ago. That is a G2 that still has the Herald in their inventory. And this is a big punch coming back from the LEC. After FURIA had been dominating so far, it's Otacon for G2. They're going to slam the turret into the tier 2 turret at the top side at the same time. They should be able to get the gold from this. Ash Arrow collides, but it won't be enough. The turret's still barely hanging on, but but the extra damage from the one Void Grub is enough to force it down. At the same time, mid lane tier 2s have been taken by FURIA in the mid and bot lanes. Tatu trying to stop the backs, but he walks too close. LeBron with another beautiful pull, but the ulti over the top slows it down. Shut down over to Skumon. Broken Blade in trouble. He's gonna die now as Skumon tries to jump back over the wall, but Gigo's ready to chase. Make that 2 dead in G2 jerseys. LeBron and Hans on the run, but Gigo, Ayu, and JoJo are all ready to chase.
And the mayhem continues. The Tatu goes down. G2, they get Otacon. And I think that's them making the best out of a bad situation. Thanks to them getting that inner, the gold lead stays relatively even. 4.7 now. I think it was 4.2 by the time the play began, but obviously you do get a decent amount of value with the Otacon. But man, this 4th game, Dragon has been found in its Hextech again. Loving me some Hextech gate action, but it also means that the relative value of these Dragons does go up. And still, some of the decision-making around when to take these fights from G2 has fell off, whereas from FURIA, it's just been hit after hit after hit.
Gigo, of course, getting caught up there was a big surge of gold over to Skumon individually. This Nefiri now with 3 fully completed items. Skumon is very dangerous. If he can get access to Ayu, he can pop him in a blink of an eye. But like you already said, the problem is you've got an even more dangerous Nocturne and Akali combo flying towards your carries. And so for G2, the 4,000 gold lead still remains very difficult to navigate.
It really does. For G2, the upside is that with 2 Dragons already, they're not at any threat just yet, as it's going to take a while to take them down. Reinforcements are on the way.
Yeah, Gigo's surviving for now. Got the redemption coming in to help him. Broken Blade now isolated. This is not where he wants to be. He's not going to buy nearly as much time as Gigo could. And that'll be another kill over to FURIA. That is Broken Blade's 7th death this game on the Renekton. FURIA putting a target on his back, focusing down this G2 top laner every time he tries to go in. Gigo just barely not having enough channel time there to try to interrupt the Hex Flash of Lebrov over the wall. And FURIA set up now in a 5v4 for a push onto this remaining tier 2 turret. This is the last structure outside of the G2 base, still standing. The paranoia used, but no ulti, no forced dive. Another great pull from Lebrov. Forces out the flash from Tatu. FURIA's push will not force the turret.
I think trying to kind of bully them off with that ultimate, trying to make them second-guess themselves, but G2 not falling for the bluff, holding strongly, but still FURIA in such great control. Look at the vision as well, right? The amount of wards that are there towards that middle of the map, Baron about to spawn, and they'll be able to get a little bit back on this punch, but particularly against the Nocturne and the Kali, you can't really afford to lose sight of vision. And so much of Blitzcrank's value is also tied to you denying vision to your opponents, because the fog is your strongest weapon. Because 2 really phase checks outside of specifically Gigo. Rest of the team, a lot more risk involved.
Yeah, we've got over 1,000 HP stacked up through Soul Furnace alone for Gigo right now. Also worth pointing out, the Seeker's Arm Guard, fully built now for Toots, so he'll have that active as he continues building towards the Zhonya's Hourglass itself. We've already seen the redemption used a couple of times here from JoJo just to guarantee that when G2 tries to send these engages, there's no way they can punch through the lead that FURIA has. Topside Scuttle Crab is claimed by FURIA and Tatu as that control ward is cleared away. Lebrov got to be a little bit careful here. Honestly, the most effective use of the Lebrov pulls we've seen so far this game are to further threaten Tatu when he tries to dive in or position aggressively. All the other ones, like trying to hit Ayu and JoJo, like we were talking about earlier on during the laning phase, they haven't paid dividends.
They have not. As G2 trying to look for a pick towards Nash, not actually going to find one, and obviously not having the opportunity to go for that objective themselves. Can go for a fake out. Try and force a response out of FURIA, but not going to go for that. As Hans, feeling safe, isn't really, but not going to get even close to face checking that.
Not going to push his luck. Yeah.
As the Dragon gets taken, that's the second one. It's nice for FURIA, but obviously just a Dragon as good as it is with Hextech, not setting up for Soul Point just yet.
Exactly. The 2-2 is buying G2 more time. Also worth pointing out, G2 has a lot more flower petals than FURIA does because of the fact that they got the Otacon earlier. G2 with 27 versus only the 16 of FURIA does give them some extra adaptive force to make up some of that gold lead that FURIA has commanded the entire game long. I pointed out the Seeker's arm guard on Toots earlier. I'm going to point out the same thing on Caps now. Massive playmaking tools, particularly for something like a Nico. And again, going back to this champion, Nico's ult and the use of it, or lack of proper use of it, really defines what this champion is in a team fight.
It's also the reason why Nico Kalista is so crazy is because the offensive value of the ult becomes completely ridiculous, right? Because you can throw in, if you have the timing right, there's very little counterplay available as Lebrov.
Lebrov stunned up, saved now though by Hansama. Gigo looking to cut off the further escape route. Nice pull in from Lebrov, but a nice Seraphine ulti over the top guarantees the kill. And now that's one dead on the G2 side. Caps goes for the Pop Blossom, but a nice use of the stasis keeps Toots alive. Caps getting away now as IU goes on a rampage, and the game goes into a sepia tone. But I do have an update. They are currently investigating a bug report on Kalista's ultimate. I'm not sure what the specific bug is, but it was something to do with the Kalista ulti. We will give you guys more info once we know it, but that's about all we've got right now. However, we're at the back end of a play that was just made.
The trigger was
right
pulled.
now. Yeah, we're already there as FURIA will continue their march down mid lane. The first inhibitor turret is down. It is a 5v3. FURIA is continuing to move forward. Remember, they already got the resources. Nexus turret's under fire. FURIA going in. First Nexus turret about to die. Toots creating space. Broken Blade's got his Sterix, but he's staying alive for now. There's no more wave. Toots and Tatu both going to take the Hex Gate out as the rest of FURIA walks back out the long way. The game goes on.
That's a call from FURIA because I think that with the lead that they had...
Wait, hold on. Gigo's going back in on Caps. He tries to find the G2 mid laner, but a flash out from the Nico keeps him safe. That is a big summoner spell, though. Nico's flash is massive for team fights.
Particularly because IU still has his. Means that unless Caps gets a crazy angle, and thus far we just haven't seen those in this game, he's not going to be able to reliably get on top of the Ashe. But what I was saying, so they get the mid lane inhibitor, but they could have also used the previous play to guaranteed setup. Instead, they are hungry. They want to push for the win, but because there's no Baroned up minions and there were still enough members of G2, the wave gets cleared relatively easily. Now, they still have a good setup as... Oh my god, he goes in!
Oh yeah, Toots is already jumping in. Oh, the Shuriken flip immediately into the R2. Toots zoning everybody else away. Meanwhile, Tatu jumping after Skumon. He knows if they kill the Nefiri there, the Baron is free, but they don't get the kill. They will force out the flash from Skumon's Nefiri, and now FURIA, they turn right back onto the Baron. Now, Toots has no ulti here on the Akali. Keep that in mind. Broken Blade taking a turret down there in the bottom lane at the same time. He's got a TP if he needs to join up. Here comes BB's TP right now as FURIA is trying to put themselves in position. Lebrov already missed the pull. Now you got Toots making space yet again. Going gold, buying time. Caps goes in. Massive Pop Blossom. Zero follow-up. Toots stays alive. Jojo with a Seraphine again. The team fight battery as Lebrov will die to the Fear Tether and FURIA is marching down mid.
It's happening, Flowers!
FURIA with the push. They got to make sure they try to interrupt these backs, though. Tatu, he'll stop Skumon for now. Where's the wave? Hans is cutting it. G2 keeping themselves alive with this.
Just do Nash.
Nice arrow.
It's fine.
Okay, we're not done with the game here just yet. Hans bought time.
They'll have Nico. Oh boy. No, they are not going for the Baron Flowers. They want to bring us to game 5 right here on this wave.
Maybe we are going to the end of the game right here. They've got the wave. They've got Gigo with so much HP. They'll pop the paranoia as Broken Blade tries to cut the wave. FURIA want to force the end of the game right now. Redemption comes down. Broken Blade tries to find pressure under the back line, but he won't get it. The Lax Nessus turret still barely standing. Caps goes in for another Pop Blossom, but he will not get it. Ladies and gentlemen, in the first series of MSI 20 2025, we are going to Silver Scrapes.
And the previous push doesn't pan out.